Good. Well, hello and welcome today. We're happy to have you here. I'm Alan McCain and I am the Secretary Treasurer of the San Luis Obispo Veterans Services Collaborative. Yes, that's a mouthful. And we're here to go ahead and present a video to you about the reemployment of veterans, what veterans can look at as far as the employment picture is concerned. We have three subject matter experts today who are going to go ahead and help us with that topic. But we'd like to, again, welcome you to this video. The collaborative was incorporated about 4.5 years ago in an effort to centralize services here in San Luis Obispo County for San Luis Obispo County veterans and those veterans relocating here to San Luis Obispo. And the reason that was done is because it can be sometimes confusing for newly discharged veterans, in fact, veterans of all ages, to find services and know where to go. So really, it kind of serves as an informational clearinghouse is really what we do. And as of today, we have 158 service providers who are collectively members. We don't have a membership, but collectively members of the collaborative. And we're very proud to have them. Everybody that is on this particular video is a service provider in one sense or another. And I think by listening to this today, you're going to be getting some fine points that you can use in your job search, or if you are employed or underemployed or excuse me, or whatever you are, whatever your situation is, listen to this and take some notes and take it to heart, because times are changing. This is an interesting, very challenging world that we're living in. And you know what, from the standpoint of reemployment and employment and those kinds of things, it really is a changing landscape. It has changed just so. In 90 days, it has changed tremendously. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Stacy Church. And Stacy is a human resources professional who is also one of the driving forces behind Susan Polk Insurance. And Susan Polk Insurance has been in San Luis Obispo for over 40 years. They're well known for their products. They're well known for their services. It's just a marvelous agency. But Stacy has been a job coach. She's been a career coach. She has been a head of business services for the Job Center here in San Luis Obispo. And she's a member of the Human Resources Council of the Central Coast. So there's a lot of knowledge there that the veterans who are listening to this can go ahead and tap into. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Stacy to you. And Stacy, welcome. And we're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Alan. And I just want to say to all of our veterans, first of all, thank you for your service. It is an honor to talk with you and hopefully help you and your families with entering employment again. The good news is that there is a lot of jobs that are out there. We're being flooded with home-based jobs. They also include training. But what I'd like to do today is walk you through some pointers that would be essential for you when you do get an interview. And that could be over the phone. It could be that you're going to be screened at first. But nonetheless, these pointers are something that I think are valuable for veterans in particular. Number one, be very proud of your service, be able to articulate that, be able to tell an employer, a potential employer, where you were stationed, what you did, and the job skills that you have that are transferable job skills. We've put together a package that you'll be able to find on the website. The most important one is My Next Move for Veterans. My Next Move for Veterans is a site that you can Google, and you would just put in the My Next Move for Veterans. It will populate a website that asks you specific questions on where you want to be. I know if I will see it, and then I liked my last job. And those three categories, you can plug in skill set, you can plug in keywords, you can plug in industry specifics, you can plug in your military jobs into this website, and it will then populate some outcomes for you in this area that may be of interest to you. That's the first thing. The second thing is getting your resume together. There are many websites out there that offer resume building, and it simply is putting in your name, your address. You don't even have to include your address anymore. You just include your contact information, email, and your telephone number, and a telephone number that you're attached to. The resume building tools that are online that are for free are Indeed. Indeed has the best one by far. You can print out your resumes, and remember, you're going to be creating more than one resume. Resumes are catered to job-specific titles. Different jobs are going to require different resumes. So this is a very important tool on Indeed. You'll be able to plug in all of the information necessary, your last jobs, including your military experience, also the dates that are important. And if there's gaps, we're going to go into that later. So number one, during this job search right now, don't panic. Don't panic. Don't ignore the trauma that's going on that you've had in the past with looking for a job. Where you're not alone. Everyone out there is going through this pandemic together. Not only that, if there are job gaps because of what you've had to do to relocate, maybe taken any job, maybe they've laid you off, don't think that you're the only one. Those are really important things. Be able to articulate that. Aim for net gains during the week. In other words, how many steps did I go forward today? Did I get a resume done? Maybe I got 2 resumes done. Line out how you are going to look for a job, look for the employer, and then cater your resume. Right now, we're going to reach out to any contacts that you have in any workforce area that you're interested in, maybe construction right now. A lot of jobs, again, are home-based. Those are also listed on Indeed. And again, a lot of them are including training. So check those out. That might be an any job. We call job searching at times, different times, that we might need an any job, the ABCs of job search. We might need an any job. An any job might be cashiering, it might be working at a grocery store, stocking shelves, it might be helping a friend out at a store, maybe not making what you want to make, but it shows that you're working. The better job might be a receptionist type position or a beginning position, say at Miners. They move people up frequently that are that show consistency. So they move you up rapidly. If you show consistency, you show that you are on time, some leadership skills, they're going to move you up. So that's the better job. And then maybe while you're in those processes, you are looking at what might be your career job. The career job is what your dream job might be. And again, on My Next Move for Veterans, it'll help you understand where you need to be. It's a good time to check in with all connections that you have and keep expanding your network. You can do that also virtually through LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you can find some local employers that may be looking for, maybe reaching out to anybody that they might have some intermittent work. Remember, intermittent work could lead to part-time work or full-time work. Also, volunteering can do the same thing, leading to part-time work. leading to full-time work, finding solutions for these employers. Maybe you don't have the right skill set, but maybe if you show up just to help and add to their solutions, they're going to see that you are talented and that you might be a potential employee with some training. During the pandemic crisis, also acknowledge your crisis in the application. So job gaps, what we were talking about before, job gaps. You're going to want to talk about why you have those job gaps. Maybe it was during the pandemic, maybe you needed to relocate, maybe you were shifting from home to home because of certain situations. Be able to articulate that to a potential human resource processing from screening to the human resource manager to maybe the supervising manager, whoever might be in charge of doing that hiring. We've already talked about volunteering. That is a really, really good way of getting your foot in the door. Also, before you go to any interview, it's really, really important that you research that employer, that you take the time to know how long they've been established, maybe their mission statement, exactly where they're located, how long it will take you to get to the interview so that you're there 5-7 minutes ahead of time. I say the 10-minute rule, but 5-7 minutes is perfectly acceptable. Remember, when employers are trying to interview, they're probably interviewing many people. So if you show up too early, kind of makes the person that's going to be interviewing you a little antsy. So make sure that you're just respectable. You can be waiting in the car and walk in 5 to 7 minutes ahead of schedule. It's also important that you know the products that or whatever it is that you're going to be selling or working with. If you're going to be working with products, know what products that they carry, know what services they offer. I told this story before, but I had a veteran that researched miners so well that he found out that they served only one brand of pretzels because they were the best pretzels and they were made in the US. The interviewer was so impressed with the fact that he knew that not only everything else he had educated himself on, but the fact that they only sold these particular pretzels. So yes, of course he was hired. Most importantly, look for jobs out there that offer benefits if possible, even though you have benefits. And if they don't offer benefits at first and you need benefits later, that's something to look at too and ask questions about during the interview. If there's anything that I can do to help you along the way, I'm always available at Susan Polk Insurance. My name is Stacy Church, and I'm happy to answer any questions, give you any connections that I know are valuable. I know that Home Depot, Miners is very, very veteran supportive. Also, the HVAC industry is very supportive, and a lot of our major construction companies are supportive. So please take advantage of those. I appreciate you listening to me, and hopefully you're on your way to your next job.
Stacy, it's Alan from the Collaborative. Would you do us a favor? And a lot of veterans are not aware of this. It's such a great program. Is the on-the-job training, OJT, that is offered through the Job Center and other outlets. Would you kind of review that for people?
Yes. OJT stands for on-the-job training. On-the-job training is through the Workforce Development Services, through America's Job Centers. I understand that they're relocating right now, but we will have information on the SLO collaboration to lead you to that. That should be forthcoming. What happens in the on-the-job training is that A job developer or business specialist goes to an employer and actually negotiates with that employer federal funds that are used to support an employer training you. They can pay up to 50% of your hourly rate and up to $6,000. So it is strategically thought out. It specifically trains you on skill gaps, so you would have new skills that you are trained on. It also gives the employer the incentive to train you a little harder because there is a job coach or a job developer coming in and monitoring your progress month to month. So you won't just be fending for yourself. You have a team actually that's looking out for you. The employer, it's a win-win situation. The employer really is greatly appreciative of that because they've got to train someone no matter what. Typically, you don't move from job to job and not have any training. I don't care how close the job match is. So we want to get where there is specific training that we can pay the employer through the federal funding, workforce development funds, that could be set up through America's Job Centers, and we will have more information on that. But that's an excellent way to get trained on skills that you don't currently have.
I couldn't agree more, Stacy. Thank you for that. And how about the insurance agents, world, and that? How about for veterans, as far as going into insurance and that kind of thing?
Insurance is a wonderful world. It is, you can sit behind a desk and, or, there's a lot of handshaking, pardon the pun, because we can't do the handshaking anymore. So it's the elbow touching. I do a lot of air fist pumping. You have everyone needs insurance. Everyone needs insurance in some way, shape, or form. Depending on what you're interested in, insurance is can be a very lucrative career. There's a lot to learn. And for those people that are interested in it, I absolutely think you should check that out. The other thing that I really wanted to kind of touch on is the ONET, which is the occupational network for any job position that's out there. So let's say it's a counselor, or let's say it's a job developer, or it's a financial advisor, or it's an insurance agent, or it's a teacher. All of those things, all of those job descriptions are detailed through the ONET, which my next move will lead you to. So it gives you a generic list. Sometimes it gives you more than a generic list. I feel like they have a really good understanding of most job descriptions. And it also tells you the difficulty level, if there's education levels, those kinds of things as well. Insurance agents is on there. You can get an insurance license within 3 months and start getting trained. And yes, would we be open to a veteran doing that? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Any other questions for Stacy? Well, thank you, Stacy. That was wonderful. I really believe that, the pearls of wisdom that you just presented, are invaluable for anybody. It's especially the ONET, especially the things pointed out in the OJT, especially the things that you went over, the online services. It's out there, and all people really have to do is to search for them and go after it. And the only thing I'd have to add is don't be afraid to be aggressive and go out and do it. You're going to have to do it. The job starts immediately. Your job search is your job. Exactly.
Is your job. The job search is your job. If you're expecting to work 30 hours a week, you should be putting in 30 hours a week of job search. If you're wanting to work 40 hours a week or more, you're going to put 40 hours a week into job search. And you need to be strategic about it. I'm doing, I'm going out and following up on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm writing new resumes on Mondays. I'm researching all of the potential employers that I want all day on Wednesdays, and I'm making notes. You need to know which resume you're sending to which employer, and also keep a list so that if I called you and said, "Oh, hi, Alan, this is Stacy from Susan Polk Insurance," and you're saying, "Stacy from where?" You need to keep a list. Is a really good idea of what resumes you sent to whom in terms of companies and positions.
And I also say, if you're a veteran and look around and tailor your interest to your career. I mean, just because you desperately need a job and you're in that lifeboat and you have to grab a job, that's one thing. But at the same time, if you have a hobby, try and turn it into a job. If you have an idea for an entrepreneurship and you want to go ahead and start your own business, there's tremendous resources out there for veterans who want to go ahead and get into that aspect, from the VA all the way straight through the SCORE, which is a retired executives organization. They have resources. I mean, the tremendous resources out there as far as veterans coming in and wanting to go ahead and start your own business. And one last comment I have is that this is an aging veterans population here in San Luis Obispo County. So younger veterans, especially, moving in here because of the challenges of San Luis Obispo County, the economic challenges. Younger veterans are a good commodity, quite frankly, simply because the older veterans are more established, and of course, older veterans need work too. But at the same time, the younger veterans coming into the county with a certain newer skill sets and that kind of thing that they have, they're a nice commodity right now. So, and look at the smaller employers, because the smaller employers, are going to be reopening. They're going to be needing talent. And there's good opportunities here for veterans in San Luis Obispo County. Any other questions for Stacy?
Thank you, Stacy. That was really helpful.
Thank you for listening.
Okay. Well, thank you, Stacy, again for joining us. We hope to see you on a future segment featuring you all by yourself on the HR aspect. So look for her on the site, and that's SLOVSC.org. That is SLOVSC.org. That is our website. And please, you're on here today, but go ahead and keep coming back to us, because we'll be adding new and improved content and more interactive kinds of segments and that kind of thing. So please stay with us. We're moving to now our next segment, and I would like to introduce to you a lady who is a recognized financial advisor here in San Luis Obispo County and the Valley over in Bakersfield, throughout California and other states, and that is Teresa Sullinger. Teresa has her business up in in Paso Robles. She's been up there for a while, and I'll let her tell you about that. But I think the points that she's going to make as far as personal finances and how to save and some other things that are important to all veterans are going to be salient points. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Teresa Sullinger to you. And Teresa, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Alan. And thank you, veterans and veterans families, for tuning in today. And our panel, wow, we have some wonderful people helping our veterans. Now, I'm eternally grateful for your patriotism and your heroism. And there are so many services available to you and your veteran family. And through the SLO Veteran Services Collaborative, well, it's a great resource for you to find and access those services. And I'm here to help with financial information today. It's going to be a financial boot camp. But before that, I'd like to share a little bit about me with you. And I'm a financial advisor. I'm also the wife of a veteran. I'm a mother. I have family members starting back in the U.S. Cavalry, my great-grandfather, up to today with a nephew who's in Special Forces. So I thank you all, and I thank my family who have helped to protect our country. So with all that, I've had some firsthand experience with real life things you may experience. Caring for elderly parents, navigating spousal benefits and veterans benefits. Most recently, buying a home with a VA loan. And that's why I thought I'd set up today in front of our fireplace. The VA loan has been a wonderful service for us. And with that, I see the depth and the breadth of the services available to you. It's up to us to tap into them. So thanks again, Alan and the collaborative, for sharing these resources. So I started Framework back in 2014 with a goal in mind, knowing to go beyond where to invest your hard-earned money, because we have to start at the basics. So we're starting with a boot camp today. So I know your military journey took you down different paths. Could be Army, Special Forces, Marines, and so many others. But you all started at the same place, boot camp. So the next few minutes, we're going to talk about how to get your finances shipshape. All right, first, know where your money goes. That is for all of us, no matter the age or stage in life. You know, as Sherry suggested, you know, keep a pad and note paper to know which jobs you're going out and interviewing for, to keep track. Even important is to keep track of your expenses, even that 10-cent grocery bag. For 2 months, I challenge you and I encourage you, track every expense for 2 months. And boy, when that shakes out after 2 months, you'll see where your money goes. And the trends, for me, Starbucks had been a habit for a while, but I have worked to break that. So analyze where you're spending your money. You've got to know where it goes before you can make changes. There's a great program called YNAB. You need a budget. And various levels, there's free services on it. You can also purchase a more in-depth program. Take that information, all those expenses for 2 months, and enter them into a program. YNAB could be one of them, and it will detail your different spending areas. And from there, where you know where you're spending your money, then you know what the next step is. So it's education, it's knowledge. Where's my money going? So next, you need to know where your income is coming from. And that could be your military benefits, could be Social Security, a job. And I love how Stacy references the ABCs of jobs. Whether you're starting with that any job or it's your career job or points in between, you can save money and build your future. So you know where your money's going. You've been tracking that for 2 months. You know your income. Well, what's left? Do you have any money left at the end of the month? If not, and that has been an experience for all of us. Starting out, we all start at the same basic boot camp steps. So there's a really neat app that my son, you know, when we can share information, as Alan mentioned, the younger veterans and our seasoned veterans, we all have information. You all have information to share. I'm not a veteran, but I really appreciate what you do. But our youth have so much to teach us, and computers and apps, definitely that's one way they have taught me. My son and his girlfriend started saving money, their nickels, dimes, and quarters, if you will, with a program called digit.co. And I appreciate Carrie when she flashes these links on the program. You know, this app is so simple. It looks at your finances. You have to do a couple of things. There are several steps, but it will start saving money for you. It takes those nickels, dimes, and quarters, which add up. So that's a neat way to start saving. It's something you can do on your own and take power of saving money. Because your goal, 6 months living expenses. And that can sound really challenging, really daunting, but that is such a good goal to work towards. And I'm going to come back to that a few more times in our little time together today as to why that's so important. So next, we're all at different stages in life. Single, married, with children, working, retired. These tips actually can help all of you at each stage of your life. So know your veterans benefits, the VA loan, college loans and grants that are available, and of course the job resources, the disability, healthcare, so many resources. But from the financial end, I'm going to say know your benefits, okay? If you're married or with children, as Stacy talked or mentioned, or Alan actually asked about life insurance or having insurance, I'm going to share with you that you budget for your immediate needs. Make sure you have savings, you're paying your bills, and you know where that money's going. Two websites that you might find helpful: investor.gov and consumerfinance.gov. These are veteran-oriented resources for you to check out that give you more tools to help save, to expand your career, technology, education. But with that, and that's good for late night surfing if you can't sleep at night. So that's going to give you a good framework for today. Know where your money goes. Is it your friend or your foe? Because sometimes it's not our friend, but we can tackle that. And then know your income. Then make that budget. Know where that money's going. And when I hearken back to 6 months of living expenses, and I'm, as a mom, a wife, taking care of my parents when they were elderly, figuring out veterans benefits, because personal story, my dad was a veteran of the Air Force, but he and my mom did not quite plan for everything. So when it came time for their care, when my dad and then my mom needed assisted living, we worked with the veterans programs. The spousal benefits that are offered can be very helpful. But with that being said, you have a family or you're married. What happens if you were to pass away? You have that 6 months savings, living expenses set aside, but what would your family do after that? That's the big picture that we have to look at. And as Stacy mentioned, and with Susan Polk Insurance, with others, with myself, looking at having life insurance is a good thing to do to help protect your family. But that's all in stages. You got to know where your money goes first. You got to start saving to have that 6 month nut, so to speak, those emergency funds available to you. And then you can start the path of investing, saving for retirement. But you got to have the core down first. And you know, as we move forward and we have more segments, the next segment that I want to talk about is for veteran business owners, ways that you can help ensure the security of your company, help your employees, and there are many ways to do that, and then to talk more about investing. So I hope this has been helpful to you today. And being here at home, we've had a little hiccups. You might have heard my little dog, Chris. My husband now has taken him out for a walk. But you know, our lives happen, things happen, and always be encouraged that you have the Veteran Services Collaborative, all of us, and a community who cares for you and is here to help you. So thank you so much, and I look forward to next time.
Teresa, thank you. I just wanted to add that I added a link. You talked about military survivor resources. If someone passes away, there's a great link. There's a great organization called TAPS that I've added that link, taps.org, that is really important, that if you lose someone in the military, they will be there to walk you through all of your benefits and explain them.
Again, such a friend. The military has put resources together to help veterans and families, and I find that very comforting. Thank you for that. I do also want to share that, you know, my business, when I started it years ago, it was with the intention to go deeper than where to invest your money, is to build a framework, hence the name Framework Financial, so that you have stable building blocks that will help you and your family for the rest of your life. And I'm happy to help anyone who needs help, and I'm here for you. Thank you so much.
Teresa, it's Alan. If I'm a veteran, it doesn't matter what age, and I want to come see a financial advisor, how do I prepare that? What do you need from the veteran? You know, because I'm sure veterans are sitting there thinking, what do I have to do here?
Mm-hmm. Well, just like when you do reconnaissance or anything like that, you have a fact-finding mission. Again, knowing where your money goes. So myself and other advisors, we have somewhat of an intake form or a questionnaire. It asks personal information, date of birth, that kind of thing, but also what are your assets, bank account, savings account, really getting not a forensic, but I would say a macro view of your financial picture. Also, The form is on my website as well. It's called Confidential Financial Questionnaire, and solingerframework.com is my website. There's lots of helpful information there. But this helps you assign realistic values to the assets that you have. Also helps pinpoint where your concerns are. Could it be saving for your grandkids for college? Could it be a wedding coming up for a child? College, starting a business, retiring, and will you have enough to retire on? So that questionnaire is very in-depth and will help you build a framework for getting to where you want to go.
Well, Teresa, I'm veteran camouflage, and I just have a quick question for you.
Okay.
And I don't have a lot of money and that kind of thing. Would a financial advisor be still willing to work with me? I mean, my wife and I are married, but we don't have a lot of savings and that kind. I mean, would financial advisors still be, willing to work with us?
Oh, different financial advisors have different requirements, if you will. There are some that say you need to have $500,000 in assets before I will work with you. So different advisors, different needs. I can speak for me personally. Every dollar, every dime, every nickel that you have is precious to you, and it is your money, and I will help anyone who needs help. So look for an advisor that you can connect with, that will give you the time that you deserve, answer your questions, and be honest and upfront with you. So for a young couple coming in, we will have a little different conversation from, say, a couple who they're retired and they're wanting to travel, or they're wanting to plan for grandchildren. But the premise is the same. Know what you have so you can know where to go from there. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, I think so, because sometimes I think it can be kind of intimidating especially for younger families, and they're thinking, oh, geez, I have to go in my Brooks Brothers suit and all of that kind of thing, So I think that's really, really, really great advice. And are there any other questions for Teresa? Anybody out there who wants to go ahead and chime in?
I just wanted to remark that it's just makes so much sense to be proactive, to actually start some of this planning before you absolutely need to, and especially because of this uncertain environment that we're in now. Change is going to happen. It's part of life, and having that security blanket of some type of a savings plan, a cushion, can help folks not rush to changes or decisions about new jobs or whatever before they're really ready to do it. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank
Great
you for
comment.
the opportunity.
Great comment. Anyone else? No? Okay. Well, thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. I think that anyone who was listening to that, it was crystal clear, as far as what's needed and what they should look for and that kind of thing. And we look forward to having you too come back and perhaps have your own segment here in the near future. Would you like to do that?
I would love to do that.
Well, we'd love to have you. And we thank you very much again for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And all the best to you and Framework, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan.
And I would like to introduce our next expert, and she is an expert. She is Deb Humphreys, and Deb Humphreys is the founder and principal of her own life coaching company, and she's had this company for I don't know how many years. Deb, have you had this?
It's been about 6 now.
Yeah, about 6 years. And her son is a Marine. She knows the armed services well. I've worked with her myself for the last 6 or 7 years. It's 5 or 6 years, whatever it may be, as far as referring veterans and veterans' spouses and families to her, as far as the holistic aspect in dealing with veterans issues. And that's one thing she's going to get into and take what she is saying to heart, because the employment, the finance, the rest of this kind of thing, all the stresses involved, I mean, you have to be whole people also as we move forward. So without, as I said before, further ado, this is Deb Humphreys. And Deb, thank you for joining us today. And please go ahead and enlighten us a bit, if you will.
Thank you, Alan. It's an honor to be here and to connect with those veterans that are out there. And also I want to welcome you to learn more afterwards. I can use Zoom meetings right now and can help you get set up with that. I have a website, deb@waypointcoach.com, so keep that in mind. And so today I want to just talk about the whole flow of making changes, whether they be job changes, life changes, whatever type of changes that you might be facing. For me personally, many of my own biggest moves and changes were as a result of my son's Marine Corps journey. I was living on the East Coast. My husband and I were in Ohio, and we made the decision to move across the country to California in order to be closer to our son at Camp Pendleton while he was there, and our daughter who was in LA. So we were sparked to change by an event. We have many other things that spark us to change. It might be health, it might be opportunity, it might be another move. But the thing that I've learned from my changes, I got to California and started my my job search here. I mean, I was still very much fully employed and was able to get a wonderful opportunity at the Aerospace Corporation in El Segundo that allowed me to sort of pull my whole, it was like a career high. I was able to use all my background in education in one-on-one coaching, leadership coaching, team building, as well as large system change work. So having that opportunity to absolutely start with a whole new industry. I mean, if somebody had told me I'd be working with rocket scientists, I would not have believed them. So it's like, this is pretty cool. So I learned, I took risks. It involved another move from Central Coast to LA, and that happened with a lot of new learning along the way. I think that the point that I'd like to make about change and transition is that it doesn't just happen. We don't go from here to there. It's a process, sort of a three-stage process. So first, needing to take a look and decide what is it that I need to let go of in order to move forward. You notice that I'm sitting here in a vineyard, and I love nature as a metaphor. And if you look closely, it's a little hard to see unless you're right in the vineyard like me, but you'll notice that these are recently pruned vines. And the importance of pruning back and letting go to stimulate new growth and change is really something that is important for people as well as nature. Well, of course, we're part of nature, but anyway, the letting go process to me is the first part of transition. And when you think about your own life right now and what you might need to personally let go of from your military experience or other parts of your life that might get in the way of moving forward and stimulating new growth for you right now, this time of change is a time of exploration. So take a moment, take some moments to just reflect on who am I today? What's still working for me? What might I need to adjust a bit in order to fit into this small community of San Luis Obispo? And that can be things like not only appearance. Some people have to get rid of tattoos. Some people have to change their appearance through what they're wearing or what company they're going into and what's the dress code there. So it might be letting go of your favorite way of dressing. It may be letting go of certain language or habits or friends that are going to tempt you to do things outside of what's appropriate in your new work environment. It might be letting go of beliefs, thoughts, attitudes that I never, like for me, I had to say, what? Aerospace industry, I don't know a thing about that. I've never worked with so many engineers before, and all of a sudden here I am, and I grew along with the company, which was pretty cool. So letting go is a very natural part of transition. And I actually want to reinforce the fact that making any kind of a change is not an event. It's a process, it's a flow, just like nature. Things don't just change, there are steps along the way. And the letting go stage is really a very important part of beginning to reflect on who you are today with respect to not just what you do well, but what's important to you in work. What are the work values you have? What kind of, how does that make a difference with respect to your work environment that you choose to work in? So that also, so when you think about moving into like this second stage of change, it's really all about hanging out with the uncertain. Like we're looking at this vineyard now, we're not quite sure what kind of grapes are these. Some of you experts may know by just looking at the vine, but there's a bit of mystery to me when I just drive through or hang out in a vineyard and just explore and say, what kind of grapes are going to come from this? I don't know yet, but it's sort of cool because I'm seeing a little bud here. It's still green. So hanging out with the uncertain and just exploring, and as we already heard from our earlier colleague, Stacy, as far as taking this time of the in-between stage of change to do as much information gathering as you can about yourself and also the world of work. I love the resources that we have at SLO through Alan's group, through the job center, through the Teresa's services, Cal Poly services. We have so many resources here in SLO to serve veterans and to help you understand what different work environments might be like. Wonderful web resources as well. So the actual in-between stage of change is, even though there's a lot of uncertainty there, it's worth just hanging out and taking stock of who you are as a person and what's important to you with your values, your interests, what kind of work environment you want to be in, what you need to hang on to, what you need to let go of, so that you'll be all the more ready to jump into something when it's offered to you, because you can say, okay, I have a choice now. I don't have to take this first job that pops up. Oh, some of you may have to take the first job, and that's fine. We don't always have the luxury to hang out in a vineyard, but the time that you can take to size yourself up and also to size up the organization and the job within that organization. It doesn't just mean, can I do the job? It means, is this a job that would bring me joy? Is this a job that I would be, wanting to get to every day? Is this the kind of company that reflects who I am as a person? So I really recommend in this in-between stage, as you're gathering information before saying yes and jumping into a job, that you try to hang out. I sometimes advise people to just park in the parking lot where you're thinking about working and observe. What are you noticing about what's happening there? How do people look when they're coming out of that building? What are you noticing when you see what they're wearing? And when you go in for your interview, the other thing to look at is to size up, who's this potential boss that I might be hanging out with for a while? Is there an alignment with what's important to us? So study things like what's on that office wall. What does this woman or man have on their desk? Because that tells you a lot about who this person is and perhaps some of the culture that this person is contributing to the organization. So the time of exploration is knowing yourself. Who am I with respect to values, skills, experience? What is knowing a lot about the environment of the organization with respect to how are things done around here? What is the organizational culture of this organization? Ask, research it, go online. What are the core values? What's the history of this organization? What are their needs? Be able to pinpoint what are the needs so that you can, in fact, have a incredibly beneficial interview. So the in-between stage of change is not just grabbing that first job, but really sizing it up, making sure that this is the right fit for you. To me, work should be an extension of who we are as people. And when we have that luxury to take that time to see, how do I see myself in this new position, all the better. So then the third stage of change is that new beginning, and it's celebrating. Be sure you celebrate. Reflect on what have I learned about myself from this journey? What am I really finding that's working for me? What might I need to let go of myself? And begin to respect the fact that it takes time to figure out how you're going to show up in this new organization. There's some really good books I recommend those of you that are going perhaps into the business world or any organization. Michael Watkins has several books on the first 90 days of work, and it talks about this flow and this process and just sizing up, and also how to have important conversations during that first week or month. So there's first 90 days at work, first 90 days in government jobs. There are lots of different series, but Michael Watkins is an author that I admire and find his work quite useful. So in closing, I want to just reinforce the fact that there are resources. Don't try to make major changes alone. Use your community of network. Really determine what might I need to let go of in order to move forward. Take that time to hang out in the uncertain and do your research about yourself, about the work environment, your financial planning. I love that advice to really size up how long can I go before I have to bring that paycheck in. And then please celebrate the success of making this change that you've started. Respect the fact that it is a process. Don't expect to go from here to there quickly. And celebrate, get support systems along the way, reap the harvest of your own vineyard, and really savor that luxury that you've given yourself to find the right job in the right environment. So thank you very much, Alan. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and I can be reached at deb@waypointcoach.com if you have questions or just want to explore the opportunity to have some career coaching. This is no fee career coaching. I made a commitment to myself that when my son returned safely from the Iraqi Freedom War, he flew helicopters there. And as a parent, this was very unnerving. I spent a lot of time in vineyards and in nature to take care of myself during that time. But it's a wonderful opportunity. Use the time, use the transition time, and stay in touch. Thank you, Alan.
Well, thank you, Deb.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I was going to ask, are there any other questions from anyone as far as Deb is concerned on a subject that, you know, touches everyone? Well, I do. I have a question. If I'm going to come and see you, Deb, and I asked this of Teresa, is there anything I need to do to prepare? Anything that, I mean, it can be, I don't know, not intimidating. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I mean, how should I approach this as a veteran?
Yeah, that's a good question. As a coach, I'm not a therapist. I don't go back and look for problems. I help people move forward by understanding themselves well enough. So you can expect that we would spend time in conversation, and I would, as I mentioned earlier, want my client to begin to shape a vision of a desired future. And I believe in a visual vision, just like this background here, is that bring it to life through drawing. One of my last clients brought it to life through using material and shaping it on a piece of poster board. And when you ask yourself, what is my desired future? It's what do you want to create with your work life and your whole, putting that in context with your own personal vision for yourself. So you can expect that I would want to start out with a bigger picture of what is it you want to create, and then begin to help you take stock of gathering that information about who you are today. What have you learned about yourself with respect to transferable skills? What kind of work values? You know, there are all kinds of values. There's life values, spiritual values. There are also work values. What's important to you in work? my work value, I knew early on in my own experience, was I have a vision and a value of building community, that I want to be in a situation where I can link resources, build communities, and I can do that through our collaborative. I did it in my inside job at Aerospace by linking our young potential managers with these are engineers that wanted to be managers, and I really enjoyed hooking them up with networks of resources inside and outside the organization. And so helping folks to really know what support systems are out there for them. And then helping provide resources for getting where they want to go. Many of my clients at Aerospace were young engineers that wanted to move into management.
In other words, as far as people coming to just be open, be themselves, just
Oh yeah, right.
be willing
Right.
to go ahead and listen and open and share is really
Right. And be prepared to work. You know, I'm not going to do your work for you, but I can help guide you in gathering the information that you want and making good decisions. And so I think that, you know, hopefully that when they leave, they may feel better prepared, not just for the workforce, but also in life, that there are so much carryover with our work and our life and the kind of people we are. So.
Well, you also mentioned a couple of key words in there, and that was good decisions. And one of the frustrations that a lot of us have as far as being service providers are the younger veterans who are discharged.
Yes.
And within a year or 2 or 3, they've made some really terrible decisions. So that by the time we see them 5, 6, 7 years later, they have one foot in the bucket, and it's hard to get out of that kind of a trench without a real shovel, if you know what I mean.
No, that's exactly my motivation. Again, ever since my son got back safely, I wanted to give back to the military. And I find there is a pattern, Alan, of some folks that leave the military, jump right into school because they've got the educational credits. And we love our schools, Carrie. But sometimes they may not be ready, or they don't know why they're there. And some of that's normal. So I didn't know what I wanted to do when I went to college, but it's, anyway, whatever I can do to help people slow down, reflect, and to have a sense of who they are so they can make good decisions.
Deb, for someone like me who would like to talk with you, how would that look? And how would I go about setting up a time to visit with you? So I'd like to share. I wanted to be a wife and a mother. And I've had the blessing of being both. And in my second marriage now, I'm now a career woman. And my mom always said, Teresa, you need to help people and be a career woman. Well, I fulfill being a wife and a mother. Now I'm in this path and have been for many years. And just like you like to know what's, I think, inside of a person, where their comfort levels are. And the same goes for financial planning. I meet with people. I don't charge a fee. I spend a lot of time on the phone or in person, and I feel really, because it's important to me to get to know someone, the fear or the question that keeps them up at night. And on this confidential questionnaire, I also asked, I've learned from spending more time with Alan and the veterans, I've now put a question, are you a veteran? Because that brings a whole different, playing field to the table. So I like to know you and the person I'm working with as much as possible to give you the advice and the tools that you need to build your future. Sure. And you mentioned a book, and I have this book here. Where will you be 5 years from today? I bet you know this one. And again, my children gave me this book, and I love it. I encourage, well, if there's a library, once your offices open up, Alan, I'd like to donate a couple of copies of this book to your library if you have one.
We'd appreciate it.
5 years passes so quickly, and this will also help you see where you want to go.
Good.
My office is in Paso. And I would just love to help whoever needs help. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Teresa. Any other questions for Teresa or for Carrie or for Deb or Stacy or anybody else on here? Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Well, again, I want to thank all of our experts that were on here today. I'd like to thank Stacy Church and Teresa Sullinger and Deb Humphreys for lending their expertise to this particular video. And as I mentioned earlier in this, we would like to invite each of these lovely women back so that they can go ahead and offer even more in-depth and let them do their own aspect as far as sharing their professional expertise, life experiences, and that kind of thing, and make it meaningful for any veteran who goes ahead and comes onto the site and is looking for information. But on behalf of the collaborative, we thank you for watching this today. Look for future efforts coming down the pipe within the next few weeks. And go ahead and take advantage of the services that the collaborative has to offer. We've done extensive effort to network throughout the county, and there are 4 regions in this county, to go ahead and identify those services that are appropriate for veterans of all ages. Next year, we will be resurrecting and reviving our resource fair, which is a veterans and families event that is designed to go ahead and present a face of the collaborative to the public in a setting that is upbeat, in which providers are invited to go ahead and exhibit. We have employers there who are hiring. We have food. We have music. It's a very good event. Last year we had about 600 attend, and this year was going to be what we thought was the icing on the cake. But now we're looking at next year, and we hope you will attend that as well. But on behalf of the collaborative, I thank everybody who participated in this today. I thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time. This is Alan McCain, Secretary Treasurer of the San Luis Obispo Veteran Services Collaborative, and saluting all of you, thanking all of you who are watching this, of course, for your service. But most of all, thank you for supporting this wonderful country that we live in. Thank you, and